Master Yoda is in the DorkLair. Welcome to another DorkLair action figure review. Today I'm taking a look at the SH Figuarts Master Yoda from Revenge of the Sith. So we've got a prequel Yoda right here, and I am super impressed with this release. This figure's awesome. Sometimes you worry when they put out a smaller figure and charge you the full price that it's just, not going to feel worth it. But holy cow. This feels like a bargain to me at that price because it just comes with so many options, and he's pretty much fully articulated. Like, he's a really nicely articulated figure, so there are so many different things you can do with him. If you want to go with any kind of like prequel scene or whatever, it's pretty much all there. Awesome figure. Let's get into this review. Okay, starting off with the packaging, this comes in a weirdly shaped box. It's like really long this way. It's just like a completely different shaped box from any of the other SH Figuarts, just because he comes with all the accessories and the chair and stuff like that. So there you can get a look at the back, all the stuff that the different options for him, and the other side, it's got that little sticker there for the Tamashii Nations. And you can see it's the exclusive. It does not have a window box. It did come in a brown shipper. But anyway, if you want to see how it looks next to a regular sized box, you can take a look at it here next to this other exclusive box. And you can see it's just different on every dimension. It's just a completely different box. But pretty standard packaging otherwise. It's got like the granny picture on the front and then the figure and so on. So decent packaging. And let's get into the rest of this review. All right, starting off with the sculpt, paint, and details. I love the head sculpts on this guy, and this is the main head, sort of like the just regular looking forward head sculpt. It's great. I think it looks exactly like he does in the movie. There is this weird little thing going on under his chin under his lip with this. It seems like they printed a shadow onto his face, and at most angles it looks fine, but I did take some photos where I kind of looked back at them and was like, that looks a little weird. But other than that, I think the head sculpt is amazing. It's super detailed with, look at all those wrinkles right over there. His hair doesn't have a lot of paint, but it looks pretty good in my opinion. And, I haven't looked at like reference photos to see how accurate the hair color is or anything like that, but I don't care. It looks like Yoda to me. And then kind of the neck is like a separate piece, and you can see that it's sculpted as well to kind of continue the look. Continuing with like the green parts, I guess. Looking at his hands, you can see he's got little claws sculpted and painted in there, and some wrinkles and stuff on the hands. This hand has a little peg hole because you can peg the cane has a peg on the top, and then this other hand is sort of just a regular sort of relaxed hand. Kind of goes with the cane hand. And then the feet, same thing. Got like some nicely detailed, nicely sculpted Yoda feet with little claws there too. And then the robe here is like a separate piece, and this is one of the things that you swap out when you want to swap out. There's 3 different kinds of robes to swap out onto him, which we'll get to in the accessories. And I think the robe looks great. It's got that textured sort of like weave thing going on. I don't know how well it's picking it up in the video, but there's definitely a texture, so it looks like the weave of the fabric, as well as a little bit of a black wash to give it some depth throughout. And then the under outfit, it doesn't go completely, so you can't really like take, obviously with the arms too, like you can't take this off and have him be like a, Yoda without his robe on. It just doesn't work like that. But that being said, the clothing underneath is, again, nicely textured. It's not just like this flat, smooth thing like Dooku had. It looks really good. I like it. There's a lot of breaks in the figure because it does have a ton of articulation. So, if you like a really clean, transitioned kind of figure, you might want to go with something else like the Black Series with the robe and stuff. So yeah, the general look of the figure is pretty sweet. I do love it. I think it looks awesome. And for some size comparisons, let's start off with some clones. So here's Yoda next to the SH Figuarts Phase 2 clone, and then here he is next to a Black Series Commander Wolf. So looking pretty good next to those guys, in my opinion. Moving on to some Jedi. So here is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and here is Anakin Skywalker next to Yoda, looking pretty good. Bringing in Count Dooku. And moving on to Chewbacca. And then I also have the Kotobukiya Artifacts Plus Yoda. And I actually think it scales well. So if you were to kind of like hunch him over and get him into this position, make him a little bit older, a little more shrunken, he would pretty much look that size. And then here he is next to He-Man. For accessories, he comes with this head sculpt looking to the left. I think it might be the exact same sculpt as this one here, but it's just that he's looking over to the side. So it might just be a repainted version, which, you know, it would have been nice to have 3 very distinct head sculpts. But it does come with quite a lot of stuff, so I don't necessarily blame them for cutting a little corner there on that one. And he comes with this third head sculpt where his eyes are closed, and I love this one, and it goes really well with some of the parts that he comes with, like the concentrating force using Yoda. And Yoda comes with 2 different robes to put on him. So this one here is like kind of like flying action pose, and then this one here, he's in the chair, and I'll show you how he looks with those on in a bit. He comes with a few other sets of hands. These are the action hands, so he's like maybe force pushing or gesturing or something like that. And then he's got 2 gripping hands to hold his lightsaber. And there's his lightsaber right there. It's painted well. Looks like Yoda's lightsaber. I do wish he had come with an unignited lightsaber hilt, but he does not. And then here's the cane, and you can see it's got a peg on the top, so that goes right into the hand, and it's very sturdy, and he can hold it very well. No fancy paint here, but it's sculpted nicely. It looks kind of wooden. And finally, his chair. So the chair has a couple options for sitting him into it. You can disassemble the torso from the legs and then just kind of have him in there with no legs or anything on it and just like sitting on it, which is a pretty simple way to do it. Or you can pop the seat off the chair and have this on it so that you can have his legs and stuff on him too, which, I mean, either way, it doesn't really matter. You're not going to see the legs either way. Nice leather texture kind of in there on the chair. It looks super comfy, and I think they did a pretty good job on the chair. Pretty simple. There's not a lot to it, just one solid piece, essentially, but you know, it looks like his chair. Okay, so swapping the cape, you want to be very careful. So it's a super tight fit. I've been taking the hands off because I haven't really attempted to disassemble the shoulders, which would be ideal. I have not done that because I don't exactly know how they connect in there, and I don't really want to mess around with it. But you know, if you can kind of get his arms tucked back as far as possible and then bring one arm off this way, it'll come off pretty easily. And then you can bring the other arm through. Now, the chair one actually comes apart, and it's super easy. Just pop his head off, slide it right over him, and that goes on very easily. But this one is kind of like the other one. And what I like to do here is kind of turn him upside down and put his arm in here. And then as I get and then really work with the pliability of it. And then I bring this around this way, up and over his shoulder. So that's on there, and now I'm going to try to work this shoulder, and I want to stabilize this sleeve as I sort of put it through so that I'm not putting extra pressure on it, and you have to kind of stretch it a little bit to get it over there, but once you do, it'll go on. But you do want to be careful and keep that shoulder stable because I worry that might break. You know, if you put too much pressure on that going backwards, it might break. Going forwards is not too bad because the shoulder swivels out, as I'll show you in the articulation, but definitely be super careful swapping things out. And so there he is with that robe on. You can get him into some really cool action poses, and I think this might be my favorite kind of thing with it. Like, put him on a flight stand and have him just in an action pose, get that lightsaber in his hand. It looks pretty cool like that. Also, one more thing to mention, all of the robes do have a peg that helps position everything and get it on there on his back really well. So I'm putting this one on, and I'm going to sit him in the chair. This one has some pegs down here and over here. And so I got Yoda in his sitting robe, and then just kind of like pop him right on the chair there, and he fits on well. I like that option there. Looks pretty cool. Finally, for the articulation, I'm going to leave the robe off while I do articulation so that you can really see what's going on with these shoulders. Otherwise, you won't get a good sense of what's happening. But still, starting at the top, so you have the head is on a ball joint at the top of the neck, and then then the neck itself at the base of the neck is also on a joint. So quite a range of motion, but it does get hung up on the robes a little bit when you do have the robes on him. And then looking at the shoulders, they're on like a hinge, so they can rotate way forward out. And you're going to see a gap in the back, but the robe will kind of take care of that. And that gives him the ability to rotate his arms across the front really well. So if you want to have him holding his cane, you can do so. You can't quite get it this far across when the robe is on, but you can kind of fudge it and get that cane so that he's holding it with this hand and then sort of mask it so the other one is over the top of it a little bit. So yeah, lots of good forward motion. I haven't really attempted to do a two-handed lightsaber holding position because with the robes, I don't think it's going to work, but you could probably do it if you don't have the robes on him. Get that lightsaber into a two-handed position, even though it's a little small, it might not fit. But okay, then just within the shoulder itself, there's another joint over there, and his arm can kind of rotate all the way around, and just plenty of movement that way. It can come up this far, and if you want to rotate it around, it can come up this far. And the elbow can bend up about this far, so it's just about past 90 degrees, and then there is also a rotation. It's just kind of weird. You have to have it bent, I think, in order to rotate it, but you can rotate that elbow as well. You can see the hands are just on a simple ball joint, but that gives him a pretty good range of motion with those hands. And there's a ball joint at the waist. He can sort of crunch forward this much, and he can crunch back and forth that a bit. He can rotate, and he can kind of bend side to side. I'm sorry, this is like such a small figure. It's hard to handle it and get everything looking right in the picture. Okay, and then so the legs, there's a floating piece that kind of helps with the breaking up of the articulation points. So these pieces here at the hips sort of float, but he can kick up quite a bit. And then he can bend his knees really far, actually, quite a bit. He can do the splits out this far, and he can bend his foot down this far and then back up. It's basically another thing like the wrist. It's just on a ball joint with a peg. And then there's an upper rotation up where the hip meets the thigh, and then there's also a rotation at the knee. So yeah, I'm super happy with this Yoda figure, and it's getting me really excited for Palpatine, because I know that's going to potentially have a throne and sort of be like a similar situation where you have like these swap out parts and stuff. So hopefully they'll announce that one soon. I'm looking forward to ramping up a little bit more SH Figuarts Star Wars stuff, because this fall they're going to be hitting on a monthly basis, and you will see those here on this channel. I pretty much have everything pre-ordered. Thanks for watching my video. Be sure to check out my other videos. Lots of Mythic Legions and Mezco 112 Collective. I've also been working on my review for the big 12-inch He-Man figure that I kind of snuck in there earlier. And that's the Mondo He-Man, and I also have the Skeletor, so those reviews will be coming next. I actually had them queued up, and at least He-Man was queued up, and then Yoda showed up, and I just wanted to get Yoda up there because I know this one's hitting, and if people are going to be looking to buy it, they're going to want to buy it soon because it was an exclusive, and it's probably not going to really go down too much in price. I would grab one if I were you. This figure's awesome. This could potentially be like figure of the year material. It's so good. I love this figure. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at the DorkLair. And until next time, may the force be with you.